once again. The Indianapolis Colts are 2-6 against the Titans since Pat McAfee came up here and did his wrestling announcement. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they haven't had back-to-back winning seasons since I was a senior in high school.
What's up, Titans fans, and welcome to another edition of Titans Global Podcast. I am your host, Maximus Titan Fan, and as you can see, I'm flying solo tonight, but that's all right. If it's your first time tuning in, or if it's not your first time tuning in, go check out our YouTube channel. That's where we want you to go watch us at, like and subscribe, share with your friends, let everybody know what your favorite Titan show is. So, I'm trying to be as positive as I can because we had a horrible, horrible game against the Texans, and I'm just not really sure how to feel about it. Carlos, you're not wrong. We need to do better. Coach better. We need to play better. I'm not Mike Vrabel, so 3-26. It's pretty rough. Passing numbers, there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, Tannehill, I think, went 2-6. Or, excuse me, Levis went 2-6. Tannehill came in, went 16 of 20, 168, and 100.1 rating, which sounds really good. But when you don't really have the anything longer than maybe 6 or 7 yards. I think he had like a 15 or 17 yard reception. That was his longest one, but there was a lot of yards after the catch on that. But anyway, rushing, nothing special. Derrick Henry, 12 of 40 yards. Ward came in, got 3 of 11. Spears, nothing on 6 carries. Although Derrick did hit a pretty good milestone, got his 1,000 yards for the season yet again. That's about it on that. Also, DeAndre Hopkins hit his 1,000-yard season also, which is a little bit bigger news. 7 targets, 7 receptions by DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's something to be said for right there. 72 yards on those 72 targets, which did get him over the 1,000 yards. Chig had 3 for 34. Spears had 4 for 29, and Moore had 1 catch for 32. I'm skipping over some people because they didn't really do well enough for me. But one person I will talk about a little bit is Burks. Treylon Burks, man, I continue to talk about how much of a disappointment he's been, and he just highlighted that for me in this game by dropping a ball of 52 yards, I think it was. We'll call it 50-plus yards. When the game was just 0-3, we could have been on the 8-yard line within 3 plays if he catches that ball. Since we didn't, we went 0-3, and that was it. And it's not even like it was that difficult of a route, man. It was just a go route or a post or a fly, whatever you want to call it. Just run faster than the other guy. And he was ahead, had the ball in his hands, and then just dropped it, man. There is going to be a lot of depressing crap I'm talking about, but if you've watched the Titans lately, you know already. As far as the defense goes, I always talk about the tackle leader, which was Kayvon Wallace. He had 11. Otis Reese played really well, 10 tackles. And Alshire had a pretty good game with 8. McCreary had a really good game with 7 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. I think he had 1 pass defended. Since we're talking about tackles for loss, Landry had 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Which Landry, again, I was talking about him stacking days, and that's exactly what he's doing here. He's stacking games together with good stats, especially towards the end of the season, which really gives me hope for next year that maybe finally he's over this ACL slump. I know it's different with everybody because it's such an involved injury when you have something on the ligament like that on the knee. That's a big deal. So I've never had one, thank God. They think I have one now, and an LCL, and if it's just like slightly tweaked, holy cow! I can't imagine tearing one from your bone and then trying to go back out there and play elite sports at the level you did before it tore. You got to have some serious faith in your body and your medical people to do something like that. So hats off to him, man. It looks like he's finally getting back to form. So that's one good positive thing to talk about. I really don't have a lot of positive to talk about. Levis was injured, which kind of stamps this whole injury thing that we've been dealing with. Colton Dowell was injured. Right now we have 17 players on IR. That's crazy. All year I've been talking about Caleb Murphy, man. Wanting him to just be activated for a game, give him a shot on the defensive line. He had such a big preseason. I just thought he was just going to do something for us. Bring something to the table that we hadn't seen, especially early in the season when or I guess right in the middle of the season when we had a sack slump, if you want to call it that. Really could have used a spark, and I thought he was it. But as we saw this week, maybe there's a reason he hasn't been starting. Focus not 100% there because he ran into the punter. What would have been a 4th down on the 11-yard line, and then they would have punted it off to us. We'd have probably got really good field position, got the ball back with 3 and still 0-3. Instead, they went 13 plays on 94 yards and scored a touchdown to make it 10-0. Even for a team that I've been disappointed in most of the year, I'm still disappointed. I mean, these fellows are actually trying here. That's the really sad part. If they weren't trying, I could understand, like if we were actually intentionally tanking, I could see I wouldn't be that upset if I thought we were actually trying to play for a better draft pick. But there's no way Mike Vrabel's doing that, man. He's trying to squeeze everything out of his players. And for the most part, from what I see on the field, most of his players are giving him everything he's got. So, or everything they have. So I don't understand why we keep falling short. I mean, I do. I'm just amazed at how still untogether we are as a team this late in the season. It's depressing. The O-line has been terrible all season. I've said it a lot. There's not a really whole lot to just dwell on it. But we allowed 62 sacks in 16 games. That's almost 4 sacks a game. That is historically bad for the Titans. I think Levis has been sacked like 28 times. Maybe more than that. Because I think Tannehill's been sacked somewhere around 30 times now. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of this stuff. But we will talk about something a little bit positive. Our sacks. Not giving them up. getting them. Haven't been great all year. I talked a little bit earlier about Landry turning it on and coming alive in the season. Autry's having a career year, even at 34 years old, I think he is, 33, 34 years old. So we are the only team in the NFL to have 2 double-digit sack producers on our team. The only one in the NFL, which I find interesting. It was an interesting stat when I stumbled upon that. But Landry has 10.5. Autry has 11.5. By the way, another interesting stat talking about Landry coming back on. He has 5.5 sacks since December 1st and 8 tackles for loss. Tackles for loss. That's number 1 in the NFL. Harold Landry is coming on big, really when we needed him to. So that's great. That's really it. That's really the game in a nutshell right there. There's not a whole lot more to talk about when it comes to the game. And I know a lot of people right now are doing mock drafts and stuff like that. I usually don't do that stuff until the end of the season. Both seasons, college and pros. So I haven't really looked. Yes, I know the main people that I would like to have, at least in the first round. I know who I'm looking for. But right now, for those who are really interested in our pick status, we're at number 7. And if we lose next week to the Jaguars, we could potentially move up all the way to number 2. There's only a 1% chance of that, and some really crazy crap has to happen for that. But we have a decent chance of moving up to number 5. The Giants and the Chargers could win. I don't know who they play. I haven't even looked at it because I'm not really one of those type of fans that's, let's lose for a better pick. I've never been one of those guys. It was funny to me Sunday because right before I turned on the game, I looked at my wife and I said, I have to be a pretty crazy fan to still be excited Sunday. 2 games left in the season. I know there's really nothing for us to gain other than to spoil someone else's day, which is nice, especially when they're in your division. But when your team is historically bad in even a few stat lines, it's not a good sign. And if we lose next Sunday, then we are, for the first time, winless in our division of the AFC South. The last time that actually happened was in 1982 when we were still the Oilers. So as far as history goes, the Titans in any division, doesn't matter what they've been in 2 divisions, but neither one did they go winless in. And it might happen to teams that are mediocre. We went 26, was it 26-3? I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, 26-3 to the Texans. I wish Link was here to pick me up off of this, but I'm just having a rough time. I don't know what the Titans are doing. There's a meme going around. I'm pretty sure it was right after Caleb Murphy ran into the punter, but Mike Vrabel put his head down, started rubbing his eyes, and that is exactly what I felt like watching that whole game Sunday. And it hurts, man. It hurts. It's hard as a Titans fan, especially someone who wants to talk about the Titans so bad and so much that I have a show for it. I literally come on here twice a week, every week, just to talk about the Titans. I mean, yeah, it's cool to get the numbers up and have all the guys, have you fans talking to me and stuff like that. But really, it's because I just like talking about the Titans. But it's really hard for me to even want to talk about the Titans when we're just really terrible. We really are. I mean, there's not much to talk about. The only great things that happened this weekend was, the 1,000-yard club. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins both got in. Derrick Henry got in again. He's never had a season. I don't think. Was his injury season under 1,000? Crap. I didn't look that up before I got on here, but I don't think it was. I think he had 1,000 yards before he went down. But my point is I don't think he's ever had less than 1,000 yards as a Titan, as anything in the pros, as far as once he became a starter. So, do I look at that as a huge victory? Not really, especially this late in the season. I wonder what his stats would have been like if we actually had a decent O-line that could block for him. And then it makes me wonder, would Tajay Spears have like a ridiculous stat line if we had a good O-line? Because his yard per carriage is still better than Derrick Henry's, even after having two kind of off games in the rushing department, which is crazy. But it's true. If we had just a little bit better pass blocking, would Will Levis be being talked about right now as like rookie of the year? I think so, especially if we had some better receivers. Let me rephrase that. Especially if we had the receiver we thought we were going to get in Treylon Burks, not the replacing AJ Brown guy, because that's a pretty tall task. Just a number, first round draft pick. Give me that kind of talent. First 32 guys taken off the board. Give me that kind of hell. Give me the second round. I'm sorry if I'm depressing everybody. I'm a little bit depressed myself when I talk about the Titans. I don't really want to talk about it in person when people bring it up at work. Because, when we're doing good, I like to talk. I like to talk a lot, even in the off season, especially this off season. I like to talk a lot. So I get on here and I talk about it. I get off, at work, I talk about it. Right now, I don't. It's the first time in a long time I've not wanted to talk about the Titans. All I can hope for is a victory next week. Spoil the Jaguars' chance. Let Houston have it. I don't know, man. And that's even, gosh, do I really? I mean, I don't know. Somebody's got to be in there for the AFC South. I'm just disappointed, guys. Sorry if I'm bumming everybody out. But, yeah, man. I guess it's going to be a really short show. I don't have really anybody commenting that much. I don't really have that much to talk about. I'm being a Debbie Downer, and I don't like it. So, yeah. I think I'm done for tonight, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this short, not so sweet show. I apologize for being so down on the dumps, but I don't really have that much to talk about. So until next week, actually Friday, till Friday, tighten up.